Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. Just got connected. Come on in. Different time than I usually go live, but if you've been here a little bit, you know I like to mix it up. I like to go live at different times so different people can catch it. Good morning, Felicity. You're always here, though, regardless of when I go live. I love it. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome in, guys. Well, good night, Prohajaz. Hello, Wana Moana. Prohajaz. Interesting name. I get a lot of interesting names on here. Alana Moana, thank you so much. Do me a favor, guys. Some of you have already started. Yeah, tap the screen, share the live. Thank you, Felicity. Let's get a few more people in here, and then we'll get started. I'm going to go kind of back to how I used to do these, where I just go through the album in order. I'm not jumping all over the place. And I'm going to do the same thing afterwards then with this, the vampire album. Tap the screen, help me get more people in here. Now the first thing I am going to show tonight is the image of St. George's Keep. Now this is not what it this is not what it looks like now. This is after it was basically destroyed, but less so than it is today. It is much more of a ruin today. And again, that's one of the things that I would like, one of the places I would like to visit at some point. Thanks, Mars. Appreciate you. Unfortunately, though, at the moment, I am still in second. I was in first place for most of the first day, so if you guys wouldn't mind going and getting those votes in while we're here, I would really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and continue on. It is just important to note that in this first larger album that I'm going to show you, every one of these photos was taken within the dungeon St. George's Keep. This was a dungeon run by an order of the Catholic Church called the Sons of Man. This was an order that was dedicated to the eradication of the supernatural, going back to just after the First Crusade. I think there are more, Felicity. I'm fairly certain. I know that there are more notebooks at least, and things that Harold Oldrey Jr. had collected together. This is the reproduction you can get in my link tree on my page if you're interested. Now, inside of this dungeon, St. George's Keep, were held many, many different supernatural creatures that at the time were far more common than any of them might be today. I get asked a lot about if these creatures still exist, and I believe many of them do. This is what I would call a ghoul. Excuse me. But people today might refer to it as a rake. Some people might be tempted to call it a skinwalker. Some people call everything a skinwalker. But a ghoul, as I describe it, would be a creature that mimics the form of the dead. This is not a corpse. This is not a skeleton. This was never human. Most vampires are daywalkers. Most vampires can go out in the day without much trouble. They do prefer the night. I will say I am going to talk about vampires. I am going to show photos of vampires. Just bear with me. I'm going through this album in the order that it was put together. We are at the very beginning. This is a ghoul. This is, as I said, a type of creature that mimics the dead. And it does this essentially as a form of camouflage. These things live in cemeteries, catacombs, crypts. They feed on dead humans. That's your tia. Good luck, my friend. That's your tia. Good luck, my friend. Now, What are these things exactly? Why do they feed on our corpses? Why? How are they able to take this form that, at a glance, you'd believe this was a body, a human body. I don't have all those answers, but I am very close to getting more. I have an interview with someone coming up in the next few days who has more direct experience with these things firsthand and in the modern era. It is available. Somebody said, Dark Sun. There is a Kindle version. Yes, it's not as cool as the physical edition, but you get what you can get. It's all available in the link tree in my profile. Let me show you guys that again real quick. If you are interested in your own copy, you can go right here to the link tree. That's going to take you here, and you can see the Oldrey Family Bestiary right there. You can also go and vote for me, and I would really appreciate that. My other books and socials are here as well. Okay, the next image, and one that I am more convinced than ever is related to the ghoul, is the Changeling. Now, this is the creature that today many, many people refer to mistakenly as a skinwalker. Now, a skinwalker, according to the actual Navajo lore, the indigenous lore, is something like an evil witch, an evil medicine man who can shapeshift into animals. Oh yes, sorry, Flissy, it did show up. Yes, your vote did show up. Let me give some shout outs. We got Flissy, we got Dakota Rose, we got Arson. We've had a few people voted. I forgot to shout out. Thank you guys. Now, as I was saying, I am more recently convinced, thank you Queen Raja, that ghouls and changelings are related to each other, and that makes sense why they're right next to each other in this album. They both mimic human form, and they both do it kind of poorly, thank you Gasface, in a way that would pass at a glance, but at a close inspection it's very clear that not what it's trying to pretend to be. Peter, you telling me you voted, my friend? Let me see. Luke, I see Luke Doyle. Thank you guys. Please continue to vote, guys. Good morning, Mr. Spice of Life. I do believe in God, unfortunate 224. But my ideas about God are a little bit different. I do believe there are multiple divinities. Thank you, Mars. God will judge me, Liam. I don't support these things. I descend from the men that hunted these things, that protected people from these things. The Sons of Man was an order within the Catholic Church dedicated to the eradication of supernatural threats to mankind. Old School Love, her name was Alexandra. I will get to her. Guys, please bear, I'm going through the album in the order that it is put together. I will get to vampires. I've got a whole second album all about vampires. So, well, they came out of the Crusades, unfortunate 224. The Sons of Man was started just after the First Crusades by a Crusader. But it continued for many, many years after that. I mean, these photos here were taken in the late 1800s. So close to 1,000 years. Like, over 800 years later. Actually, no. Less than 800, but close. Now, as I said, well, today when you hear stories about things like the black-eyed kids, like rakes, like people say skinwalkers, even some stories of the Men in Black, they seem to be some version of these things. They particularly have trouble mimicking the human eyes. And that makes sense if you think about it. They talk about the eyes being the window to the soul, and these things at the very least don't have human souls. Now these feed off of humans as well, but in a very, very different way. They will drain your life energy, literally drain it out of you through fear, through dread, through that sickening feeling we call the uncanny valley, that once you are in their presence, you are overwhelmed by it. How are they made? I have a theory. I'm going to try to get it confirmed in this interview. I don't know how they were originally made, but they do seem to not really reproduce, but essentially reproduce through people's obsessions with them, through people researching modern cases, through people reading about modern cases, through people looking at more recent photographs, videos. It causes them to appear to you. It causes them much more likely to come show up at your door. Now again, they feed on life energy. They feed on the body that's left behind. They both mimic human form in some way, but upon inspection you can tell that they are not actually what they're pretending to be. That's clearly not a skull. It almost looks like a jack-o'-lantern. What are these called? This is a ghoul. This is a changeling. They're both creatures that in the modern era people might call rakes. People might mistakenly refer to them as skinwalkers. Things like the black-eyed kids, same thing. Where are all these creatures today? LA, look up skinwalker videos. Just after you're done here, or if you want to go do it now, look it up here on TikTok. Look up rake videos. You'll see videos of these things. I mean, a lot of these things are still around. Mermaids, werewolves, they call them dogmen. Why do they appear to you, Amethyst? It's hard to say. It can be because of obsession, but that's not the only reason. Sometimes they just pick you. I don't know exactly why. Now we're continuing through the album. I'm going to be going through every image and explaining in detail what they are. Unfortunate 224. I don't think I would call them demonic. I am going to show demons. I'm not. That doesn't mean that they're not malevolent, that they're not something, but I don't know if I'd say demons. Now this is one of the creatures that I believe is just some kind of animal. A harpy. This is what our ancestors. A harpy. This is what our ancestors, ancient Europeans would call a harpy. In Greece and Persia, they believed these were bird women. From my information and what I'm looking at, nice to see you, Medj. I personally believe that these are just very large birds of prey. They're vaguely human-shaped. They look a little bit more like women than men. That's it. Now, when I say that they're just animals, not supernatural, that's not to say that they're not monsters. This thing could pick off children, smaller women, livestock, smaller livestock, obviously. So whether or not it was actually malevolent, evil, some kind of esoteric supernatural being, didn't matter. It didn't matter. Well, they're much less common today, LA. And I don't even know what would happen if you tried to physically restrain, for example, a changeling. I don't believe they're purely corporeal beings. To hold the one that they had in the dungeon, they had to take special care, and I'll talk a little bit about binding sigils later. I don't know what a changeling's natural form is. I have no idea. They can be bound. I have a photo I'm going to show you of a demon that is being held with binding sigils, and you can see the sigils in the photo, at least part of them. Catherine, thank you. Nice to see you. Okay, as I was saying, the harpy, the first creature in the album that I believe is most likely some kind of animal. Thank you, Silem. Some kind of bird of prey. Still incredibly dangerous and a threat to humans. Now this next one is the other end of the spectrum. This is a very supernatural being. This is a human, essentially, that has been reanimated using a combination of occult sorcery and the technology available at the time. Yeah, this information, let me just go ahead and remind people where it comes from. I, about 3 years ago, inherited a house from my estranged grandmother, and over the years, I've uncovered incredible amounts of things inside the house, under the house, basically relics of my unknown ancestors that I had no knowledge of throughout my life growing up. This was buried, hidden mostly by my grandmother, who then had a very strong disconnect from my mom. They basically didn't speak to each other for decades until the end of their lives. I have documents. I have relics, both blessed and cursed. I have all kinds of photographs. Weapons, I can't show a lot of those on TikTok Live. I can show things like the mallet and stake, the Hamza blade. But I also have a really cool 1851 Colt Navy revolver. You can see some on my page. Unfortunate 224. Check out my profile. I've got hundreds of videos going into detail about it, about them. I've got the Oldrey Family Bestiary. You can see here. It is transcribed by Alex Calvo. That's me. From the writings of Reinhold Oldrey, Harold Oldrey, and Harold Oldrey Jr. And if you want even more, there's The Old Breed Hacks, and a fantastic book for Halloween. This is a novel about my ancestor Harold Oldrey, the one pictured here, the one who wrote most of these notes, and it's particularly about his time working with the Irish witch Bridget. All of that you can check out. It's in the link tree on my profile, right there. You click that, it'll take you here. You can see the books here, my other socials, and please make sure you go and get in a daily vote. Would love to get back into first place. Okay, sorry. Back to the album, back to the pictures. I know that's why most of you are here. Let me go ahead and got to give a shout out to Nate Miller. Thank you for voting, Nate. Thank you, Silem. Unfortunate 224, I am very well protected here. I will just say that for now. I don't want to get too off track, but I do recommend you go and check out my page. My YouTube is a little bit easier to follow. Everything is here on TikTok, but it's spread out over hundreds of videos. So, like I said, I do recommend you check out the YouTube. Thank you, Misty Green. I appreciate you for saying that. Now, as I was saying, this is the Reanimated, a man who has been essentially brought back to life using a combination of occult sorcery and technology. That's an interesting question, Freebies. I'll get to something like that later. Right now, I'm really just going through the album, and I want to be specific, but that is a very good question. I'll get back to that. LA, I will show you. I never have a problem showing people where to vote. You're just going to go here. The link is on my profile. It's right there. There you go. That will take you to my link tree that has all my books, my channels, and the vote is right there at the top. You can do one per day. You can donate for more. I'm a little worried they're not going to do double donations this round because it's surprising they haven't done them yet. So if you do want to donate, maybe you can already. Thank you, Mars. I appreciate you saying that. That means a lot coming from somebody who was in the contest. Hello, Janine. Thank you, Silem. Now, as I was saying, this is a person. He has no eyes. He has no nose. I am no skin. No legs. Seems only one arm. This is a test subject. Let's see if we can make necromancy simpler with the technology available to us. I don't know what's going on here. You can see there's some kind of machine or contraption. He's connected by wires or hoses. I don't know, probably some kind of organ function going on there. It's horrific, really. I feel a tremendous amount of pity. I did not, Mr. Spice of Life. I still don't know. Yeah, he's a very poor soul, unfortunate. It's very unfortunate, yeah. I do have writings, reports of much, much more monstrous versions of this same kind of thing. Like I said, this is essentially the alpha version, a test to see if it can work. And after this, they created things like people with like multiple extra limbs, things much more like Frankenstein. Um, animal parts infused into humans. Crazy stuff. Terrifying stuff. Now I am going to continue on. This is one of the more popular sections. Good morning, sweet woman. Everyone, I'm going through the album. I'm going through picture by picture like I used to. And if you want, once I finish, I might go back to some of the more popular ones. So don't worry if you've missed anything. If I don't get back to it, I have live replays on my YouTube channel. I also have tremendous amount of videos here on TikTok going into all the information here. Thank you, sweet woman. Thank you, Mendez. I appreciate that. Everybody, if you can go and give me that vote, I really would appreciate it because I am still in second. I did fall into third earlier, and that was like rough, but then I went into second without even going live, so that was cool. I don't know, Nathan. I don't know how long subjects. Thank you, Madge. Nice to see you. Always good to have you, Madge. Thanks for the vote. I don't know how long subjects of necromancy are reanimated for. That's a great question. That's a very good question. I hadn't even thought about that. I am second in the Face of Horror contest. That is basically a voting contest with a great prize that would help these channels tremendously. Oh, these were all once alive. These are not my own work. These were creatures held in a dungeon called St. George's Keep that was run by the Catholic Church, essentially. A part of it called the Sons of Man. Thank you, sweet woman. This is a mermaid. This is absolutely a mermaid. And people always ask about the things today. Mary, Alberto, thank you both. I know who both of those are. That sweet woman and Alberto just told me he voted. David, I don't know. I think this is pretty interesting and pretty worth it. Not German experiments. This is actually probably of more like Celtic origin. St. George's Keep is a ruin today. Hold on, sorry. I'm getting lost in the chat. There are many different types of mermaids. Some of them might be prettier than others. Some of them are certainly nastier than others. Excuse me. I absolutely believe mermaids are still around, sweet woman. I was just about to say, you can see videos of things that look very similar to this that were taken within the last couple months. Easy. Just like when I showed the changeling, I said, look up skinwalker videos. They're not actually showing skinwalkers, but they are showing changelings. There are mermaids. I don't know if they're marrow. I believe that's the subspecies this is, a marrow. Where do they hide? Underwater. Deep, deep water. But they do hide well, but like I said, you can see a lot of videos about them. I don't like to use the word siren because according to actual mythology, sirens were women with bird legs. They were not fish women. Mermaid and siren were not originally interchangeable. That's something that was born of essentially Renaissance artists kind of just taking liberty with the story of the Odyssey. They basically painted mermaids instead of sirens. You probably won't know if a mermaid is around you unless it wants you to know. I mean, that's just sea life in general. Have you ever seen the videos of people at beaches from helicopters, and you can just see the silhouettes of sharks and stuff weaving in and around them? I'm not sure, sweet woman. I'm not sure about like a good book. There's probably people who know a little bit more about that than me. I have a little bit in the Oldrey Family Bestiary, obviously, but I certainly would not call myself an expert. They're not like, well, sirens are not like fish women. Mermaids are. Wizard of Oz, nice to see you. I have other sea creatures as well I'm going to show, but I do know the mermaid is very popular. I do like to note while showing this one, you can see the pool of water. It's almost up to her chest. It is a small one. It's not a very pleasant experience for her to be locked up there, but they did dig out pools basically at the bottom of the dungeon, essentially in caves. And that's where they would hold the sea creatures. I'm not. How would they show they're around? If they want you to know, you're not going to be questioning, Bay. You're going to be seeing them splashing at you, seeing them jump out of the water, or at least come to the surface. Yeah, Jamaica. There's a lot of people that report things. I always say that every culture that touches the water has stories about mermaids. Hold on. Now here we have this creature. It does resemble an anglerfish, but vaguely. If you actually go and look at real pictures of anglerfish, they look pretty dramatically different from this. But I do believe there is some relation there. Hold on. I don't know how long a mermaid can live for. I also do want to note, sorry, mermaids are not necessarily evil. This one was drowning people, but that was this individual. There are definitely many stories of more benevolent interactions. Now, as I was saying, this is some kind of humanoid fish monster, fish creature. You can call it a fish man, a deep one. These were called by the sons of man and by my ancestors the children of Dagon. But there's more than one creature that gets that distinction. Here's another clearly distinct different species, also some kind of humanoid fish creature, also referred to as children of Dagon. These are monstrous, essentially servants of some deep sea, I don't know if you want to call it entity or deity. Could they live outside? What? Not permanently. They can move around outside of water. Like I said, they did dig pools for them in this dungeon to keep them alive. You got one with your musket. Ace on your case. Nice to see you. Threw him on the Barbie. I don't think that these creatures could communicate with people. Mermaids, I do have reports of mermaids communicating with each other. They definitely seem to have language. Sweet woman, the way these were captured are interesting. I do know that they had experienced, like, they're kind of like hunters on the sea, but they're also kind of like fishermen. It's obviously a kind of combination. They were also experimenting, one of the earliest experimenters with scuba diving technology. And this was in the late 1800s. So if you look at the technology at the time, it was already going on. And the church, like I always say, think about the United States military today. They always say that it's like, what, 10, 20 years ahead technologically? That was the church at this point. Thank you, Night King. I don't know if they can feel emotion. I'm sure the mermaids can. I don't know how much can a fish feel emotion? I don't know. I've heard that thing about the Pope and Dagon. I'm not sure if that is exactly true. Now, as I mentioned, there are multiple species that get this moniker of children of Dagon. Seemingly any kind of fish humanoid creature. These were much more deep sea. These had never attacked land. They were, something that people on ships had to worry about, like long voyages. They would attack ships out at the deep sea. But this one that was brought into the dungeon was believed to be the first one that ever set foot on dry land. I don't know, sweet woman, I don't know. Dagon was a deity worshipped in Canaan and Mesopotamia, Sumeria. I don't know that it is a god, but it's some kind of entity, at least, that is associated with the sea. Very powerful. Now, this is another, like I said, fish humanoid creature, but this one would attack the shore. This would attack coastal villages. Not quite as large and monstrous as the other ones that I showed, but still certainly not something you'd want to come across at the beach. Hellcat, I'm showing photographs in an album of essentially monsters that were held prisoner in a dungeon run by a secret order in the Catholic Church. These were not created. I don't believe they were created. I think some of them, maybe you could say that, but I believe that these ones are some kind of manipulation of natural creatures. I think that Dagon, whatever it is, basically manipulated natural animals with some kind of power, some kind of magic, and created these. So you could call them created, but they do have a natural counterpart. Are there any record of human attacks on humans? I'm not sure what you're asking me, sweet woman. Thank you, Phoenix. Now, there are other much more supernatural things that can also fall under this moniker of Children of Dagon, more associated with a creature called Kululu. And yes, that is very likely the inspiration for Cthulhu. But look up Kululu. Dagon, those are all real, very ancient beliefs, very ancient, terrifying creatures and deities. Now, this is, like I said, a much more overtly supernatural entity. Think of something like a squid with dozens of tentacles and a head that it can shapeshift roughly into something like a human face. Now, when I say shapeshift, I mean more like natural. Like, have you ever seen those videos of octopuses that can change their color and their texture and things like that? That's what's going on here. It's doing something like that to look more human. The whole purpose of this thing, I always say, this is much more like a demon than a monster. It attaches itself to people who've spent long, long times out at sea, sailors, sometimes fishermen, and tries to drive them insane. It's not like a demon that tries to possess you. This tries to drive you to violent madness, insanity to where you're attacking others and yourself, harming yourself as well. That's what this thing wants to do. It wants to drive you to the point that you are no longer here. Again, under some, depending on who you're talking to, they might refer to this as a child of Dagon as well. I'm talking about different supernatural creatures that were held in the dungeon St. George's Keep up through the late 1800s. I have not heard of Tokoloshi. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, once again, I don't believe this creature is supernatural at all. I think this is another cryptid, another animal, a crab, a crustacean that could grow to 3.5 feet, almost 4 feet, large enough that it would attack living humans. I don't know, it's me. It's a mystery to me completely. Yeah, it is terrifying, Scarlung. This thing is so large that it would charge you, and usually in groups. It would usually attack humans. They said sometimes in groups of dozens. Unfortunate, I'm almost out of sea creatures, but I think I have 5 that I've shown so far. Oh, thank you, Celtic Tarot. That's very interesting. I appreciate you mentioning that. That's a good time for me to mention. You guys, you can get, if you want your own copy of this, it is available in my link tree. A reproduction, the Oldrey Family Bestiary, transcribed by me, Alex Calvo. It has the photos. It also has the descriptions transcribed, like I said, from the writings of my ancestors, the Oldreys, the Oldrey family. That is available in my link tree on my profile. Let me show you. You just you click right here. That will bring you here. There you can see the Oldrey Family Bestiary. Now, please also go and give me that vote. Vote for me, guys. Let me see. I was in second. I'm still in second. Got to get back into first place. Remember that there are photographs in this album that I don't usually show on live. There are photographs that are supposedly carrying more of a negative attachment than these other ones. Shipping is mostly worldwide, yes. I will show them if you guys get me back into first place. I also want to thank Susan Wright. Susan Wright voted. I got to give you a shout out. If you guys get me back into first place, I will show you the forbidden photos. Somebody mentioned a green witch. I always mention that the vast majority of witches are benevolent. They are good. They help people. At the very least, they leave people alone and they're off by themselves. This is Bridget, the Irish witch, one of the closest allies my ancestors ever had. I think South Africa it will ship to. You got to try it yourself. Go into my link and check it out. It's Amazon. These are all self-published. But as I was saying, Bridget, the Irish witch, she was believed by my ancestors to be the avatar of the Celtic goddess Bridget. That's why I say I believe in God in the Christian sense. I believe in Jesus. Thank you, sweet woman. I also believe in other divinities as well, to some degree. I don't know exactly what. I am of the belief that many, many, many different faiths, different cultures have parts of the answer, not the complete answer. Now, if you want to know more about Bridget and her time with my ancestor, Harold Oldrey, check out the book, The Old Breed Haxan. That's also in my link tree. Got some more votes, it sounds like. Let me see. I'll give some shout-outs. Shelby, Joshua, thank you both. Joshua, I guess that's you, Wizard of Oz. Red Lady, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Now we're out of the water. This is a Norwegian troll. Thank you, Night King. This is a Norwegian troll. I say Norwegian because there are many different types of trolls, even in the oldest stories about them. You know, they range from the size of mountains with powers akin to a god to little creatures almost like an elf that are just more of a nuisance. Norwegian trolls are about human-sized, a little shorter but stockier. They are man-eaters. You know, don't let their smaller size fool you. They will charge, knock you out, drag you back to their cavernous homes, and feed on you over multiple days. Good morning, Dewstone. Nice to see you again. I am still in second. Trying to get out. It looks like they might not be doing the 2-for-1 rounds in this round because it has not come back up again. If you want to know more about Bridget, she was a very interesting person. She was actually a prisoner of the Sons of Man, the order that my ancestors belonged to. And Harold, after speaking with her in that prison, broke her free, and they basically ran off together to essentially to stop the devil and the devil's followers. Because like I do mention, the vast majority of witches are benevolent, but there are bad ones as well. There are people out there. That do worship evil. This book is all about that confrontation. This book is all about Harold and Bridget, their experience together, and everything that happened. So check that out in my link tree, please. I don't believe that. No, the order was not Masonic. That's what I was saying, Red Lady. The vast majority of witches are good. Aquarius Age, why can't you vote? What? Please let me know. Hold on, Angel. It keeps telling you the page is unavailable. Please, what you can do is copy the link and paste it into a new window, or what you can do is send it to yourself on Facebook Messenger, if you're willing to do that. It usually works that way, but that's pretty upsetting that it's not letting people vote for me. That seems very unfair. So if you can try to see if it's working, if you do that. Guys, don't bring politics in here or you're going to get banned. Thank you, Angel. You had no problems, Wizard. Okay. I'm glad some people are getting it, but I get a lot of people telling me they have trouble getting into it. Okay, Kyle, Claire, Donna, Dustin. Man, I'm getting them quick. You guys are doing great tonight. Remember, if you get me back into first place, I will show the supposedly cursed photographs. The low cursed. Thank you guys. Hold on. Thank you, Aquarius Age. You can vote once per day. Please do that. Cursed is a strong word. They have negative attachments. I say cursed so people understand a little better. Thank you, Red Lady. If you want to see the darker images that I don't usually show on live, get me back into first place. Now here you can see, people always ask me about elves or fae. This is one of those types of creatures. I'll come back to this in one sec. The way that you can vote for me and get me into first place, somebody asked, right here. Thank you, Red Lady. You click on that link. That's going to take you to my link tree. That's going to take you here. I'm currently in second. Get me into first place, and we will see more photographs. Who took the pictures? I'm not exactly sure who the photographer was. I know it was somebody the Sons of Man brought in. I know the church had somebody probably with a more advanced camera than anybody else had at the time. Again, talking about the church and the technology available to them. I don't know if mermaids travel around Louisiana. The vote shouldn't have anything to do with notifications. You should just click on the link and go through there. I don't know what you mean about notifications, Miss Mumsy. Many of these things are still around, yes. You do have to go through Facebook because it has to confirm that you're only voting once per day, at least for free. You can vote more if you donate. Now here you can see, as I said, it's a type of elf or fae. It in many places it would be called different things. Duende in Latin culture, hobgoblin or bogart in Scandinavia, house spirit or brownie in Celtic places. A lot of people say that they see these eyes move. So I like to come close and hold it and let people watch it for a little while. I'll try to get it a little better. Hold on. There we go. Now, while I do this, it's a perfect time for anybody who wants to go and get that vote in on my profile. And if it's not working for you, okay. If it's not working for you, please put in the comments what your problem is. What you can try is to copy the link and send it to yourself in Facebook Messenger and then open it through there, or you can paste it into a new tab. You do have to sign into Facebook because it needs to confirm that you're only doing one free vote per day. Now let's see. We have Sunny and Robin. Thank you both. Sunny and Robin. Appreciate you. Sopo, thanks for sharing. I imagine there are places like this today. I don't know where they would be. Maybe under the Vatican, maybe somewhere like Area 51. But those are just my hunches. Those are just guesses. I know that this one is not in any kind of working order today, this dungeon. This is a real entity. I have what Hellboy is, essentially. Hellboy is based on actual folklore about Cambions, which are human-demon hybrids. I'm going to show one of those. The next thing I'm going to show, a lot of people have said that looks kind of like Hellboy, but it's not. How was that photo captured? These are all prisoners, Codex. These are all coded. These are all prisoners in a dungeon run by the Sons of Man Order. This was part of the Catholic Church. These were all prisoners. None of these things that I'm showing you are like out in the field. Thank you, Mandy Lynn. Somebody asked what book this is. This is the Oldrey Family Bestiary. You can get this reproduction. You can see here It's available on my profile and my link tree. I have thought about going to the dungeon, the ruins. That's one of the things I would like to do if I am able to win this Face of Horror contest. I'm in the semifinals, but you can see the prizes there. Not just the money, but the ghost hunt with Kane Hodder, the feature in Room Org. That would do wonders for me. That would be like it would evolve this channel immeasurably. Sorry. Yeah, Galactus, I'm on early right now. Red Lady, what are you referring to when you say me too? I'm not sure if I can do that. Okay. I'm going to sit here just a little bit longer, a little bit closer, letting people see if they see any movement in those eyes. People have said they see movement in other parts of the face as well. You don't get anything for coming in second, and I'm still in the semifinals. I've got to win first, and then there's one more round. This round ends, I think, the night before Halloween at midnight Eastern Time, and then the last round starts on Halloween. So if you want to take this moment real quick and go vote, I would really, really appreciate that. And everybody who votes, I'll give you a shout out on the stream. Let's see. Ellie. We got Ellie. Thank you, Ellie. Appreciate you. This was captured. What's a bit harsh? It's me. Manoj, I'm not talking about voting for president. I'm talking about voting for me in Face of Horror. I'm currently second. You can vote through the link in my profile right there. That's going to take you to where all my books are and everything, and you can vote. No, I mean, it is what it is. Nothing for second. It is, it's okay. Now, here we have another creature that I believe is not necessarily supernatural. Very likely just some kind of animal, some kind of cryptid. I believe something like a Neanderthal, but larger, some kind of proto-human. And people ask me a lot about Bigfoot. I don't know anything about Bigfoot, but if it does exist, it's probably something similar to this. I call it an ogre. Red Lady, when you say you tried to vote, what's going on? Hello, Alex Perdeda. I kind of remember you. Orcs are based on ogres. J.R.R. Tolkien wrote in his letters that he based orcs on ogre mythology. How and why did they capture them? No, you don't need to pay to vote. You can pay to do extra votes, but you can do one free vote per day, Red Lady. The options are one free, or you can do donations to do extra votes, but you don't have to pay to vote. These photos were collected by my ancestor, Harold Oldrey. I'm not sure if he put the photos together into the album, but it came down to me in this. It came down to me in this album. Good morning, Ann Young. Hold on. Thank you, Ann Young. Sorry, I'm trying to get all the answers out. I just get a lot. This feed goes pretty fast sometimes. Now, like I said, ogres, I believe, are just, again, some kind of animal. You do have to log in through Facebook. That's because it has to confirm that you're only doing one free vote per day. Thank you, N Young. If you don't have Facebook, I understand. Just do me a favor and tap the screen, share the live. Help me get somebody in here who does. Monster Slayer Surge is not like something you wouldn't. It's not like something innate. Thank you, N Young. It's not like something you would discover if you're a monster slayer. It means out there slaying monsters. You're active. It's more like a profession. Monsters. You're active. It's more like a profession. It's not really like some innate inner thing that you have to discover. Thank you, everybody helping out. Thank you, Sister Moon. I don't think it's half human. I think it's a human relative. Well, my great grandfather was around in the early 1900s. My great 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 grandfather was around in the mid to late 1800s. If the Facebook thing is not working for the vote, copy the link into another window or just send it to yourself as a message, and it should work from there. People tell me that works. My ancestors were monster hunters. Hold on. Georgia, I don't believe any actual would openly admit to it in a random TikTok chat. So I mean, it's cool that you say that, but I don't really believe it. I am not a hunter. I've never claimed to be. I am a descendant of people who were involved in this. Now, this is a photo of a manticore. You can't really see it. It's just too darkened. It's too, the lighting wasn't good enough, so I don't stay on it for very long. This was essentially a type of chimera. Lion, scorpion, eagle, human, crazy stuff. It was not only my family who did this, no. Like I said, the Sons of Man was an organization in the Catholic Church, essentially an army. At its height, it had thousands of members. I will get to vampires and werewolves. Some of them, I'm sure they are sad, Christina, but these were all predators. These were all things that were actively harming people. Now, this is one of them that I do feel bad for. Georgie, that's not true. I don't know. You can say that. That's okay. I'm not going to hate, but back it up. You know what they say, put up or shut up. If you can't back it up, not interested in hearing about it. How to vote, Derek? You vote through the link in my profile, right there. That will take you here, where you'll click there and come through here. Now, again, guys, if you can get me to first place during this stream, I will show the photos that are described as having negative attachments. They're freakier. They're cooler. Now, thank you. We haven't had a a voter in a little while. Let's get some more votes in, guys. This is not Nephilim. I do have something that is like a Nephilim that I will show. This is a Minotaur. And again, as I said, this is one of the creatures in here that I feel sorry for. I do feel bad for it. But unfortunately, this was the best option. This is not a natural creature. This is the offspring of a woman and a bull brought on by some really sick spell that compels them to the act and then makes that act viable. This is a Minotaur. Hold on. Give a shout out. Randy, I'm not seeing you. Oh, Hazel. I saw Hazel. Hazel, I saw you. You donated 13 votes. Thank you, Hazel. I missed you earlier. I missed you before. Mother, not mother. I'm not sure what you're saying. The mother of daughters or daughter of mothers, Rachel, but I'm not really sure what that is. These ones were imprisoned. This was basically this was many centuries into the Sons of Man work. This was during the Age of Enlightenment, so everybody was kind of obsessed with study, and they just wanted to understand them better, to better deal with them. And as I said, this is not a natural creature. The Minotaur should not exist. It's too strong, too aggressive, and too driven towards human society, towards human groups. It just leads to just disaster. Unfortunately, locking them up in a dungeon is the best thing you can do. I don't know if there is a Minotaur that exists today, but one could be created. Like I said, these are not a race. This is not a species of creature. The myths are pretty accurate about Minotaurs, LA. These things, they're the offspring of a woman and a bull. It's as sick as that sounds. It is a spell that compels them to do that, and the spell also makes it so that the pregnancy is viable. Jeremy, the group, the Sons of Man, was part of the Catholic Church, so you could say they're out of the Vatican, but they were all over Europe. Oh yeah, minotaurs are not a race of creature. Even go back to the oldest myths. Minotaurs are not a species. They are a woman who did something very disgusting with a bull, and the spell makes it viable. I am going to show what I believe is a Nephilim here in a moment. I am at demons now. These are imps. These are very, very low-level demons. Yes, the Oldrey Family Bestiary, the reproduction you can find in my link tree, it has the photographs, but then it also has the descriptions and information transcribed from the Oldrey family journals and other writings. It has both. Now, imps, I always say it's very important not to confuse imps with some type of fae or elf. I don't recommend interactions with either of them, but there is the possibility of benevolent interactions with fae or elves. There is no possibility of that with imps. Imps are disastrous, monstrous little creatures that only want to hurt. These are demons. These are very low-level demons summoned into physical form. Demons do not naturally exist in physical form. They have to be kind of made into these from somebody who is very adept at some kind of occultism, whether you want to call that witchcraft or sorcery. It is scary. Now, these imps are usually summoned more as a practice itself than for any particular reason. Summoning them into the physical world is just, a kind of an act of blasphemy that somebody involved in this kind of work would want to commit. Now, these things here you can see, they are decomposing. I mentioned demons are not naturally physical creatures. They don't have physical bodies. They have to be made into these, and these do not last very long. They can be kind of upkept, for lack of a better word, reinforced, but they start to fall apart almost as soon as they're summoned. Now, I'm going to skip around just a little bit because it makes things make a little bit more sense. This is a similar creature. This is a summoned demon. Essentially the same thing as an imp, but of a higher level demon. This thing is more powerful than an imp, but essentially, again, a spiritual entity remade in physical form. This is the one that gives me the creeps. Heather, perfect time to go vote. This is another one that people claim moves. They say that they see movement in the hands and in the face. You can also see the binding sigils on the wall behind it. I always find that very interesting. That is how, I mentioned that earlier, this is how they would hold the more supernatural creatures. Some things they could hold with chains and bars. Other things required something more. Yeah, you can see things similar to this. People capture them on video sometimes. Stories, things like the Jersey Devil, Goatmen. There's a lot of things like this. This is a summoned demon. This is a demon made into physical form. Now, again, this is not its natural state. In general, it will start to fall apart, start to decompose after a short period of time. These will last longer than imps, but very similar. Something like that, Coded X. That is that is a good way of thinking about it. Grab it by the horns. Now, I'm going to hold here again for a minute because, like I said, many people have told me that they see movement in the hands and in the face. So I'm going to hold it here, and I would love for some of you guys to go and give me those votes. Remember, there are some darker photos that I don't generally show on live. And if you guys can get me back into first place, I will show them. Thank you, Geminissima and Heather. Geminissima, I hope I'm saying that right. Let me see. Geminisma and Heather. Thank you guys for the votes. Still in second place, though. Would really love to get back into first. That's okay, Heather. It's not misjudgment based on appearance, no myth. Some things can be bad. Not everything is good. Some things can be bad. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Caroline. I really appreciate that. I'm not a Freemason, and this is not a Freemason. Now, I mentioned that demons do not naturally have physical form, but hell does seem to have an obsession with getting them here in physical form. Because I showed you 2 versions of summoned demons, and now I'm going to show you something even stranger. This is a physical demon as well, but this demon was originally human. That's interesting, Heather. This was a person, a man, involved in some kind of deep occult study, whether it's, you want to say sorcery, a warlock, I don't know exactly, but something in service to very dark entities for many years. And this was his quote-unquote reward. This is not Pan, no myth. This is not Pan. Now, the reason that people imagine demons having horns may be because of Pan, but demons have horns now, or at least they did then, because people imagined them having horns. Demons want you to see them. Demons want you to look at them and not just fear for your life, but fear for your soul. And that is why demons that are of a certain level, they will appear with horns. Now, the imps, like I showed, they don't have the ability to control their form as much. And when I say control their form, I don't mean that they're dramatically shape-shifting, but there is an element of what they look like that they do have some control over. And they can shift to some degree. If you don't fear them, you're probably not being very smart, at least if they're in the room with you. It's not like the end of A Nightmare on Elm Street where you say, I'm not afraid of you, and then they just dematerialize. Yeah, branded in Latin. Yeah, it's something, like I said, he is chained up here. He does have sigils holding him in place. You just can't see him. Why goats? I think the goat thing has to do with the fact it's believed that's the first animal that we domesticated for food. And there is something, when you think about that, yeah, of course, you got to do what you got to do, but there is a little bit of something sinister in that. The first animal that we took in and manipulated so that we could eat all of them. I think that has something to do with the goat thing. They do like goats. They definitely do like goats. But it's not always goats. They like to do basically bastardizations of natural life. Sometimes it's horses, other things like that. The reason you hear about things like this is it also has to do just with what people believed. Like I said, people's belief about demons affects how they appear. Now, here's the next one, probably one of the most interesting. People always ask me about the Nephilim. I believe this could be a Nephilim. It is at the very least a Cambion. A Cambion is a human-demon hybrid. That means somebody summoned a demon like this, a woman mated with it, and this is their offspring once it grows to maturity. Another way to try to create demons in physical form. Now, why do I say it could also be a Nephilim? Because high-level demons, I believe, and many believe, are fallen angels. Not all demons, but the high-level demons. And this is written to be the offspring of a human woman and a high-level demon. I don't have a name for it. I don't have a specific name for this entity, but it was the offspring of, like I said, a high-level demon. So while it is certainly a Cambion, a human-demon hybrid, it might be a Nephilim, which is a human-fallen angel hybrid. And again, why does it have horns? Because at this point, that was the belief about demons. That's how people expected to see. So it's very possible that in the past, Nephilim didn't have horns, but at this point, Nephilim are the offspring of humans and fallen angels. That is what Nephilim are, according to the actual sources on this stuff. Anything else you've heard is incorrect. Nephilim are the offspring of humans and fallen angels. That's what they always were described as. So a Cambion, like I said, is a human-demon hybrid. But not all demons are fallen angels, but I do believe some of them are. I feel you, Heather. I get you. Now, this was the most powerful, the biggest, and the baddest, Jeremy. This is the one that led to the dungeon falling. This thing sat here at attention, basically ignoring them, in its chains, with binding sigils behind it, like you see here. You can't see them in the picture. But it did eventually just stand up, rip out of its chains, and start tearing things down with its bare hands. I don't believe demons are not the spirits of giants. It started to tear the dungeon down with its bare hands and just destroying the place. The guards panicked. They executed most of the creatures that were in there. Some of them escaped. Some of them, it's believed, they still haunt the grounds to some degree. Mostly these demon entities. And that is the primary reason that I do not give away the location. This was St. George's Keep. I don't give away the location other than to say it was in Europe. I don't give it away because I feel like going there is very dangerous. And I know if I give it away, many of you, anybody close, will flock to it. Okay, I'm going to jump a little bit. I'm going to skip the vampires for the moment because we're going to go into the vampires at the end. And we're going to go to werewolves. Hold on. It is possible. I'll back. Hold on. It is possible. I'll back and answer that. It is possible that the Cambion was willingly captured to destroy the dungeon to create chaos. Very possible. I don't believe Vlad was a vampire, so I don't know. These guys, none of these guys are okay. I mean, they might be interesting visually, they might have interesting stories, but they would not be friendly to you. Now, talking about werewolves, the first one I'm going to show you is not actually a werewolf. People would probably consider it something of a werewolf, a wolf man. It's actually a type of possession. Flissy, that's interesting. I did not say they were in the UK. I won't confirm or deny that. I want to real quick thank Heather Smith Peters. I don't know if I thanked her yet. Guys, remember, if you can get me back into first place, I am still in second. If you can get me back into first place, I will show the other photos, the ones that I generally don't show on live. No, this is a man. I believe it's a man. Looks pretty masculine, but this is a man who is undergoing a type of very ferocious demonic possession. A kind of possession that literally morphs his body into a demonic beast. Hold on. Galactus, they are to a degree. Hold on. Sorry, I got a little lost in the chat. This is a type of demonic possession that very animalistic feral demons. This is the most similar to the movie like The Wolfman. It is most dramatic under the full moon. This was probably under a full moon, but it wasn't only under the full moon. I don't really believe in the Book of Enoch, only because it tries to make everything into one thing. I don't believe any explanation that tries to say, oh, all these things are actually the same thing. They're just like different versions. That just seems too much like somebody trying to take all this stuff and fit it into their own narrative. It's the same reason I don't go in for explanations that say like, oh, all witches are satanic. I know for a fact that the vast majority of witches are good, and they come from very distinct practices. It reminds me of people who say all these are jinn. I don't go in for those explanations. Physical ghosts? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Now, this is a werewolf. This is what people today would call dog man. I believe it's also the same thing as a rougarou. Everything. Thank you, MK. It's what people today, like I said, call dog man, werewolves. The reason people think of dog man today as some kind of cryptid separate from humans is because they don't turn back into human form. They don't go back and forth. It's a one-way trip. They change into this over an extended period of several days at least, and then that's it. That's what they are now. They don't go back to human form. They survive as long as they do as essentially savage animals that view humans as their primary food source. It would be crazy to photograph these. You can see he's chained up, but you probably wouldn't feel too safe. I believe this one was just fed, beef, pork, whatever animals they had available. Again, it was essentially just an animal at this point, but it views humans as its primary food source. How are they made? Usually through some kind of spell. You can become one of these things by being bit and surviving, but it's very unlikely that this thing is going to get to where it can bite you and you're going to survive. That is very rare. Essentially, somebody usually would pay some kind of very scrupulous practitioner, and they would incite this curse on somebody. Pretty sick. It's a horrific curse. There is no cure. Now, continuing on, we have the völkin. This is one of the more popular things that I talk about. The völkin are another type of werewolf, much more malevolent, much more dangerous. I always mention that with the werewolves, a rifle round is good enough. You don't need silver. You don't need magic. You don't need religious artifacts. Through the head or through the heart, and it's done. The völkin, very different story. These are much more malevolent, magical, evil creatures. You can see the human flesh on its chest. That's its own. These things literally rip out of their flesh when they change, and these ones can go back and forth. You can see the face left behind almost looks like a skull. These things are, the advice that I have in the writings for dealing with these things is to contact the sons of man, which doesn't really exist to the degree that it did back in the day. These were well beyond what the layman or even most hunters could handle. Thank you, MK. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I hope you'll all go and vote if you are enjoying. Remember, if I do get those prizes, it's all going to go towards improving the channel. It's not just going to go towards me going on vacation or buying a car or something like that, like the other people who are involved. This will all go back to you guys. The Nephilim, he did almost look like he was posing. I will give him that. But he was essentially kneeling at attention. They said it seemed like he was listening to something. Thank you, Scarlug. If you think I deserve to win, make sure you're getting your votes in. I don't know if they're going to have the 2-for-1 votes this period. They've usually had it by now for the donations. So if you do want to make a donation, maybe don't hold off. Please go and I do want to note they're not donations to me. They're donations to the Starlight Children's Foundation, helping kids in the hospital. So now, no, Silver Bullet, I know you're referring to the movie, but I will mention that wouldn't do anything against these. Scarlung, have you tried copying the link into another window or sending it to yourself in Facebook Messenger? That seems to work with people who are having trouble with the voting. It's really frustrating that so many people are having trouble. That makes me feel like I don't want to say it's rigged, but that feels weird. The vampire that I caught on camera, I would describe as more a haunter than an elder. That distinction is about how physical versus spiritual it is. Miss Mumsy, what was the issue? When you say it didn't work, what do you mean it didn't work? What happened? Now, as I've said previously, the Völkin draw their power from the Fenrir and Loki, which is Fenrir is the giant god-slaying demon wolf of Norse mythology. How do you survive one of these? If you think you're dealing with one of these, the only advice I can give you is to message me, and I'll pass that along to somebody who maybe could help you. I don't know. I don't know if these things still exist. They're literally apocalyptic cultists trying to bring about the apocalypse, trying to bring about Ragnarok. To become one of these, you have to be brought into their cult and deemed worthy. Teresa says you don't survive. That's... Thank you, Dewstone. But it's saying check notifications for what, Mumsy? For your vote? For your login? What do you mean check notifications? Is that a Facebook thing? Yeah, don't use the TikTok browser to open Facebook. It's being weird about that. Copy it into another tab in your browser. Galactus, yeah, that's true. That is true. Thank you, Annaus. Please, guys, go get your votes in. We're almost at the end of the first album. If you do want to see those other photographs, I am going to need you guys to really get out there and vote and get me into first place, because I am still in second. Dustin, yes, it did. Thank you. I see. Thank you so much. Olivia, I see, also voted. Dustin, thank you for those 15, my friend. You rule. Now here we have one of the more interesting photos in the album. I'm going to show the vampires next. This is Rafael Cardon. I do use protection, Jeremy, but I don't go into detail about it because people use that to get around it. Yeah, Donna, okay. Miss Mumsy, the verification thing is not about getting your vote. That's something they're saying you can choose. Yeah, people are helping you in the chat. Sorry, I'll just continue. This is Rafael Cardon. This is the only photo in here that was not taken in St. George's Keep. I believe this was taken underneath Notre Dame Cathedral, where he was held for centuries. This is the church's greatest secret weapon. He was the founder of the Sons of Man. He was essentially an undying, unkillable super warrior. He was a crusader, and unbeknownst to him, all throughout the Crusades, his commanding officer, also one of his closest friends, was manipulating him through various types of occult sorcery, basically remaking him into something inhuman, something unstoppable. Now, that would be to his own downfall many centuries later, because, as I said, unkillable, undying means he never died. He kind of did. You can see here he's certainly decomposed, but this is 700 years after the Crusade. This is 700 years after he just got tired and went down into the crypts and kind of went to sleep. He did decompose very slowly. If you're familiar with the incorruptible saints, the incorruptibility phenomena, where they don't decompose the normal rate that people do, that happened to him. Is he conscious? I don't know. He does seem to lose himself over time. I know that by the late 1800s, the church was very nervous about using him. But before that, he was essentially their secret weapon that they could call up out of the dungeon, or not the dungeon, the crypts, to battle whatever their other fighters could not. Is he a saint? I don't know. I don't think that saints are the only ones that have displayed incorruptibility. According to history, I think Alexander the Great had that feature as well. Yeah, there can be some weirdness between TikTok and Facebook. It is annoying. So if the link is not working for you, I know it works for some people. Just copy and paste it into a web browser or send it to yourself as a Facebook message. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Okay. You get to my links through my profile. Hold on, it wants to load again. Of course, it's been on this whole time, but now it needs to. There we go. You click there. That is going to take you here. Now, if this is not working just by clicking on it, you can do things like there's here. You get other options. You can just copy it, copy the link. Send it in a Facebook message. Just paste it into another browser. You can also just right-click it, obviously, and copy the link. Please do that. You can just hold down on it on a phone. Any way you can vote is really appreciated, guys. I would love to be the next face of horror. I do think I'm the candidate that fits it the best. I do think I deserve it. I'm currently in second place in the semifinals. We've still got almost 5 days, but I would feel a lot better sitting in first place. And if you guys, I'm going to do a quick flash. Thank you, Ann Catherine. Really appreciate you. If you guys want to see those photos over there, the darker photos, you got to get me back into first place.